Hello, let's look at our last push strategy for life orientation common assessment task for 2022. We would like to thank the Department of Education for taking this initiative to give out such a nice gesture. A nice gesture where you are given the strategy, where you are given information on how you should prepare yourself. This is amazing. Department of Education, Gauteng, thank you so much. Let's look at what this have for us, the strategy, the last push strategy. Right, let's see what the slides have for us. Life orientation. As you can see, the pictures of learners sitting for their final examination and probably waiting probably will be waiting for their subject statement at the end of the year, the National Senior Certificate. The countdown to the final examination has started. There is no other way, learners. There is no other way, grade 12s. The examination has started. As soon as you see yourself sitting down on the 5th of September, then you know that this is your final chance. This is your final chance for writing your exams, right? Meaning the trial as well as they are approaching. You need to prepare yourself with whatever that you have so that when the final comes, you are ready. There is nothing that there is nothing that can stop you, if I can put it that way. Here are some helpful hints. Let's see our helpful hints. Next slide. Let's go through our introduction. Sitting for any examination or test may lead to stress. Very much true. Every individual, even though we are different, but every individual, if you know that you are writing your final, this is your final examination, stress starts to mount in, right? Anxiety start popping in. You experience lot of things, right? But this doesn't mean that when you are stressed, now you have to sit back and say, you know what, I'm not going to write my final exam because I am stressed, right? Stress is there, it is manageable. Anxiety is there, it's manageable. But when you prepare yourself, all these things, stress, anxieties, depression, or whatever, you can fight them. They might be there for a while, for a short time, but you can be able to do what? To fight them. Let's look at point number 2. It says, however, with sufficient preparation beforehand, you should be in a position to reduce stress and do well in exam. Like I've said before, you can prepare yourself. Sufficient preparation is very, very, very much important. You don't have to wait for 2 days to prepare yourself, 2 days before your examination, and to prepare for your examination. Prepare while you still have time, right? Prepare while you still have time so that you can avoid stress and the anxieties in the examination room. Point number 3, it says, with the life orientation CAD upon us, this presentation serves to reduce the stress and guide you as you are as to guide you as you do your final preparation. Right? These strategies that you are given here, they will help you to reduce stress and guide you to do your final preparation. Right? The final one is therefore you will be provided with the general tips, the examination writing tips, and the overview of the content. Is it clear? This is our examination the strategy introduction. Let's move to the next slide and see how it goes. Before you start with the exam, do the following. This is where you are seated in your exam room. This is where you are seated in your exam room, waiting for your question paper, waiting for your answer sheet, waiting for the exam to start. All right? Before you can write, you do the following. A, it says to check the cover page of your question paper. Check the cover page of your question paper. Why? To ensure that you have the correct one, right? Check your cover page to make sure that you have the correct one. This might sound very much lousy. This might sound very much, if I can put it that way, lousy, or it doesn't make sense. How can you check your cover page knowing everyone knows that you're writing life orientation? But it's important, believe you me, it's very much important to check your cover page if you have the right question paper, and then you check the page number, you check everything. Make sure that you go through your question paper. You are going to be given that time to do what? To go through the question paper and make sure that the question paper is the right one, right? B, it says check the number of the pages and make sure that it corresponds with those indicated in the front pages. Meaning, when you check the number page, isn't that outside the cover page it's written there, the question paper is consist of so much pages, right? If it says it consists of 16 pages, make sure that you go through question paper on the bottom or at the top, but however, all the question papers, they have page numbers. You go through and check if the page numbers correspond with the one that is written on the cover page that they claim that the question paper is consist of. C, it says for 2022, you will notice that the following: life orientation CAT is out of 100 marks. The duration of the paper is 2.5 minutes. Before 2021, before 2021, should I say 2020, from the beginning of life orientation to 2020, the year mark, I mean, sorry, the total mark of CAT, it was 80 marks. It was 80 marks. Started from last year, it is out of 100 marks, and the duration, it was 2 hours. Now they have extended your time with 30 minutes. They have increased your marks, the marks, and then they have extended your time. Let's move to the next slide. Read the instruction carefully. As we always emphasize that instructions are very much important. Read the instructions carefully. Carefully, not just read to read. Read the instructions carefully. There are 3 sections under this question paper for CAT. There are 3 sections. Section A, which is compulsory. Section B, which is compulsory. Section C, it consists of 2 essays. Meaning, if it consists of 2 essays, meaning you are not going to write all these essays. You are going to choose 1 essay. Am I making sense? Point number 2, it says you must only answer 5 questions in totality, right? Each question carries 20 marks. Thus, it's 5 questions times 20, which is equals to 100 marks. You only answer 5 questions, right? 5 questions, that is consist of 20 marks each. That is going to give you 100 marks. Next point, if you answer all 6 questions, the last question that you answer in section C will be cancelled. Please, learners, don't make mistake of writing all the 6 questions, especially in section C, where you are given a choice of choosing an essay that you feel comfortable in, right? Let's say, for instance, you didn't read instructions, you just write because you're excited of writing life orientation. Maybe you studied hard, or maybe you're just excited because you're writing your final paper for life orientation. Now you write all these 6 questions, and you find that the last question, which is question 6, let's say question 6, and then is the one that you studied the most and you enjoyed it like nobody's business, and you believe that you're going to obtain a lot of marks. Question 5, it was so, right? And maybe you have answered few questions in question 5. Imagine the stress of not being able to get the marks that you were expecting because of the ignorance. You didn't read the instruction, or you didn't follow the instructions. Now that question 6 that you think you obtained higher marks, it was cancelled automatically, and then they mark question 5. You see the ignorance of not reading instructions. Simple. Read your instructions carefully, follow them, right? Each and every section on top, you find that it has its own instructions. There are instructions for the whole paper, and each and every questions, they have instructions. If they tell you to read the extract, read the extract. I hope I'm making myself clear. I hope that you guys are going to hear my voice when you write your final exam, right? And the next point, it says write neatly and legibly. It will be to your benefit. How will it benefit you? It's going to benefit you because the markers, when they mark, when you write neatly and legibly, you are not going to, when they mark, they are not going to struggle to mark your paper because everything is clear. Your handwriting is neat, your handwriting is clear, so they are not going to struggle, right? Possibly even marks are going to come out from whatever the answers that you have written because of your neatness. I'm making myself clear. I hope so. The next point, therefore, if the duration of the paper is 2.5 minutes, you can divide your time as follows. Question 1, 30 minutes. Question 2, 30 minutes. Question 3, 30 minutes. Section C, which is 2 essays. Each essay is 30 minutes. Total, it's 2.5 minutes. So each and every question is divided into each minutes, 30 minutes each. Right? Make sure that when you write your questions, don't waste time on one question. Don't waste time on one question, right? I'm not saying write quickly. No, write while you check your time so that you can be able to balance your time right. So if it happens that you finish quickly, make sure that you go through your answer sheet. You check your answer sheet. If the answers are correct, you go back to the question paper again. Just don't rush to finish so that you can go home. No, take your time. Take your time. Check your answer sheet. Check your question paper. Check if you have answered everything correctly, right? Let's move to the next slide and see what it has for us. General tips. Now we are on general tips that we've been waiting for. All 6 major topics in life orientation will be assessed. All major topics in life orientation will be assessed. Subtopics will be assessed in an integrated fashion. Therefore, all content covered for Term 1, Term 2, and Term 3 must be covered. Meaning when you start, you don't have to overlook the question paper and assume that this one is going to come out, that one is going to come out. Let me concentrate on them. No. What they mean about all these 6 major topics in life orientation, they mean that all the topics that you have covered with your life orientation teacher from Term 1 to Term 3, you need to study them. The content that you have covered with your teacher, go back, study them. Still, you can study them while you use your question paper, which is very, very much wise, right? Point number 2, it says 10% of grade 10 and grade 11 content will be included in life orientation kit to assess foundational knowledge. Now, you have to go back to grade 10 and 11 content because 10% of your kit is going to be covered from grade 10 and grade 11, right? To assess or to check your foundational knowledge if you still remember them. But it is wise to go back and study them. If you lost your textbook, go back and ask someone from grade 10 and 11, ask for textbooks, right? 10% question on physical education will also be included in the LOCAT. Physical education, guys. Physical education, I have um I have, what do we call this? I have seen a lot of learners ignoring this physical education when it comes to studying, because they assume that they know what is happening in physical education. But when the exam comes, they fail to answer the question. So it's very much important, because 10% is a lot of marks. It's a lot of marks. You don't want to miss out those marks. Go back, study the physical education, which is going to be included in your kit. All right. The last point, it says, therefore, ensure that you revise some of grade 10 and 11 content, as well as the question on PE. Like I said, you go back and you study them, right? Let's move. How is the content assessed? How is it going to be assessed? You will be required to show understanding of the following: the conceptual and content knowledge, defining, constructing, critiquing, and evaluating, honesty, respect, Ubuntu, and equality, and etc. This is what the content is going to be assessed as well, to show that you understand what answers you put in your answer sheet. You understand how did the question come to you. How can you be able to answer? When they say define, you know that they want you to give an explanation of a certain content, if I can put it that way. If they say define the reading skill, define the term reading skill, and then you can be able to explain what reading skill is, meaning you are giving us an inside explanation of that particular term that they want you to do what? To define. Let's move to the next slide. We're still on how the content can be assessed or will be assessed. It may be straightforward questions that require basic life orientation knowledge, like define, as I said it before from the previous slide, define climate change. You give us the information about this climate change, or you give us an explanation of what climate change is, right? Point number 2, it may be questions based on current affairs, like what is the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic? What I'm trying to say is that this uh this is a way of showing you how the content will be assessed. We are not saying that whatever that is here, it's gonna come out in exam, but it's important to know what is happening in the global, what is happening in the world, right? The current affairs, what is happening under unemployment, the corruption, and the fraud. Those are the type of things that you need to look at. What is happening, whatever that is happening in the world, you need to be informed about, right? The next point, it may be questions that has integrated content, a mixture of related topics, e.g., how does a fraud and corruption contribute to unemployment? When they talk about the mixture of related topics, right? Corruption and fraud, what do you call this? They are related somehow. Unemployment, it falls under maybe corruption or fraud, right? Remember, unemployment, sometimes we say we are unemployed because so and so have connections in so and so department. That is what we call corruption. People are being employed under the corruption situation right there. The last one, it says it may be a question or questions that needs to be to apply that you need to apply the knowledge that you have acquired, e.g., provide a strategy on how to solve substance abuse. In this sense, when they say apply knowledge, they mean that they need to see if you have information about certain situations, right? Here they say, let's say they want you to apply your knowledge on how to provide a strategy, right? How can you provide a strategy to solve a substance abuse? So this is you applying the knowledge that you have acquired, right? The knowledge that you have acquired yourself. Not me, not your friend, not anyone. You yourself. You are going to apply it. And then this type of answers, when they come, in most cases they come in a form of essays. You might write them in a form of essays, in a form of bullet forms and whatnot. Let's move to the next slide and see. Still on the content be assessed. You may be required to, number one, give back information as it was taught, discuss, describe, assess, recommend, evaluate, advise, solve or analyze an issue, apply knowledge to solve a problem. Because of the integrated nature of the questions, you are required to go through all the content and not to overlook any of the content or to classify it as being too easy. There are 6 topics. Make sure that you go through all of them. You see, it's written even in capital letters so that you can see how important this information is. Don't overlook any content and you classify it as being easy. You might be surprised. Let's move. What about previous life orientation CAT question papers? This is you asking if it is important or if it is relevant or if you can use them. Yes, you can use them. Previous life orientation CAT papers should be used as exemplars of how the questions are examined. Please do not spot questions using the previous question papers. The questions will never be repeated word for word. However, the structure of questions and the topics may be repeated. However, the structure of the questions and the topics may be repeated. Thus, it is helpful to go through past question papers. However, they will not adequately prepare for you. They will not adequately prepare you for the examination. Going through the content will never be repeated word for word, meaning that question papers, even if you use them, they are not going to repeat exactly that is inside, word for word, exactly that is written. They might change here, they will change here and there, not might. They will change here and there, right? However, the structure of the question paper and the topics may be repeated. However, but that is a not a short thing, right? Meaning you need to study your content that you did with your teacher. Next point, by spotting questions or certain topics, you could compromise yourself and struggle to answer all the questions. Refrain from this practice. Spotting questions or certain topics, you could compromise yourself or struggle to answer all the questions. Go back and study all the 6 content. Simple as that. The life orientation CAT is set as a fresh assessment yearly and does not consider previous case studies and scenarios, meaning the scenarios and case studies always changes. The last one, thus, acquisition of the requisite content and conceptual knowledge is the key. Go back and check the content that you have done with your teacher. Very much important. Tips again. Remember that the LOCAT is not a comprehension or general knowledge test. It tests the knowledge, the skills, and the value as prescribed in CAPS. Therefore, case studies and scenarios are only included to set or to create the context. But the question will always assess the content taught. The question will always assess the content taught in class, right? The content that you have covered with your teacher again. The questions are going to be based on those content. Next point, also look at the cognitive complexity level of the question. Questions will generally reflect lower, middle, and higher cognitive demand, and may also be of easy, moderate, and higher complexity, which is difficulty demand, right? Because in this sense, remember, we are testing the skills that learners have. That is why we have levels of cognitive demands. Understanding the command verbs. Understanding the command verbs. One may ask, what are the command verbs, right? We'll come back to that item or the term command verb. Now we are looking at the cognitive levels. As we said in the previous slide, cognitive level, lower cognitive, middle cognitive, and high cognitive. The high cognitive is the application of the knowledge, where you need to apply. As I said in the previous, you need to apply the knowledge, where you are required to do what? Where you are required to give your knowledge, right? Where you are required to provide advices, right? And then we have the middle. The middle is where you recall, is the recall of the facts, where you discuss, you explain, construct, and you differentiate. And you have the lower cognitive level, recall of the concept, words, or the definitions. Here you list, you mention, you define, and you clarify meanings, and you give examples. I'm going to read these letters that are written in red. Listen carefully. You need to both understand and be able to explain what is meant by the by the various command verbs as part of the study skills exam writing techniques. Right? Let's move to the next slide. Demand words. This one I'm not going to go through it because already I have explained the what do you call this, the command verbs, right? The evaluation, justify, describe, explain, outline, and define. So I'm going to give you only a few seconds just to go through them, and so that you can be able to see the meaning. What is it expected of you to do when they say analyze, or counter for, argue, assess, or compare? Rule of thumb. Understand what the various command verb require you to do, and limit your response to what is required by the question. Don't give her too much information or don't give her less information. Make sure that you understand what the command verb says to you. What does it requires you to do, right? Make sure that you check your marks, the mark that is allocated for that particular question, before you can be able to answer. Because we have a problem with learners who answer who give small answers for 4-mark question, or they give lot of information for only 1-mark question. Make sure that you understand your command verb before you can give your answer, and check your what do you call this? Check your marks that are provided. Point number 2, you need to read the questions with understanding. Read the questions with understanding. Very much important. Don't just read your question so that you can rush to give the answer. Learners have a problem of picking out particular content or term in a question and rush to give the answer instead of reading the question and understand it before what is required, or understand the question before they can give the answer. Understand the question before you can be able to give the answer. I hope this is clear. You should analyze a question to understand what is required. Analyze the question. Make sure that you understand what is required or what is needed before you can give the answer. You need to highlight or underline the command verb or the topic or the quantity and other in the questions. Guys, make sure that when you come to write your exams, when you write your exam, bring your highlighters, bring your pencil. Make sure that your stationery is complete so that you cannot be borrowing things from other learners, because it wastes time. Borrowing of stationery wastes time, right? Bring your highlighters. Those highlighters, you're going to use them to highlight your command verbs, the topics, the quantity. When they talk about the quantity, maybe when they ask you to give 4 functions of whatever, those are the quantity, and then you underline. I hope I'm correct on this one. All right, let's move to the next slide, because this slide is very, very, very long. I hope I'll be done by today. Next slide. How to answer questions. How to answer questions. Learners should take different colored highlighters into the exam, as I said before. This will help you to highlight the key instructions that you need to execute. Learners generally lose marks because they know the topic but fail to follow the instruction of the questions. See? Learners generally lose marks because they know the topic but fail to follow the instructions of the questions. Section B and Section C require full responses or extended writing. One answer responses or one word responses are not allowed in Section B and Section C. Learners would generally lose a lot of marks if the responses are not comprehensive. Point number 4, remember to write in bullet forms and look at marks allocation. I think I have mentioned this as well. Look at the marks allocation. If the question has the following mark allocation, let's say 3 times 4, it means you need to write 3 responses, like 3 paragraphs, that consist of a fact, a substantiation per respond, right? The fact, substantiation per report. You need to write into paragraphs. Make sure that you use bullet forms when you write your paragraphs, not number 1, number 2, number 3. Strictly write in bullet forms. Last one, be very cautious when you write your responses. It is best to write a fact and to substantiate or to extend on the same fact before mentioning the next fact. In this sense, you can write the fact and then I think it might be what do you call this? It might be accepted if you write your fact and then after substantiate, or you extend it into maybe examples or whatever that you are required to write, so that you can be able to have the marks that it deserves, right? Let's move on. Type of questions that you are going to find in your exam, right? Within the question will always be minimum of 2 elements or more, e.g. define. the command verb. This is the command verb that we spoke about in the previous slide. The human rights, which is the topic or the content. They want you to define human rights, which is the topic, right? Number 2, there could be 3 elements, e.g., evaluate, which is a command. 3 strategies, which is a quantity of that could be used to combat unfair labor practice in the workplace, which is the topic. You see what is happening here, guys? This is very, very, very much easy and straightforward. Now, when you just immediately after what you call this, after this session, I'm sure you are going to look forward to write your exam, because as soon as you understand what is happening here and then you practice it, I'm telling you, when you sit for your exams, distinctions are going to come out there. You'll thank me later, right? The last one, it says there could be 4 elements. For all elements, how? This is where it contains maybe 4 marks, this one. Discuss, which is a command, verb. 3 steps, quantity. In conflict resolution, this is a content or a topic. And provide reason why these steps would be to help solving the conflict in the scenario. This is the application of the knowledge. You see? Now, this might be 4 marks. When we mark, we check the command verb if you given the correct one, and then we check the quantity, and then we give the mark for that one, and then we check the content, and then we give the mark for the content, and then we give the final mark for the application of the knowledge. This is how it works. As soon as you understand this, this is going to be easy. When you listen to this video, you can take your question paper while you're reading. As it goes, when they say type of questions, you check the section of this type of questions, and then you compare what I'm talking about here and in the question paper, so that you can be able to know when they say discuss, what is it that they're talking about, the content and whatnot. It's going to be very much easy as long as you can stick to your study or practice. Let's move on. Now here you are given example. Lastly, in life orientation, a 2-mark allocation implies that the learner must give a response that has 2 parts, e.g., the fact, which is based on the content knowledge, plus the substantiation, which is the reason why. You understand? Which is the reason why. You give the fact, we mark for the fact, the mark for the fact, and then the substantiation, which is 1 mark, and then you get your 2 marks. The other point, if the mark allocation is 4 marks, write a fact and extend on the same fact. Don't move to the next fact. Stick to the same fact for that 4-mark allocation, right? Don't jump and write another fact. Stick to one fact, you give the following, all right? The extend on the same fact by adding 3 ideas instead of mentioning a new fact, right? For example, social justice is equal provision of social services. Point number 1, right? And then we give you mark for number 1. It still continues, right? As you can see, it still continues, but they have divided it into the fact, which is divided into the extension, which is the substantiation, right? They're giving other information on one fact. The social justice is the equal provision of social services. This means the regardless of race or income level. This is point number 2, but on same fact. All people must be treated equally, and this is point number 3 on the same fact. Access to social services must be equal for all people. This is the last fact, but on the last point on same fact. Now you get your 4 marks. I hope this makes sense. Guys, I wish I was the one who was going to write life orientation. But anyways, let's move. How to answer section A question, which is a multiple choice. I remember I told my learners that life oriented multiple choice, in most cases we think that multi choice is it's one of the easiest question ever. But when you mark there, you find that out of 25 or out of 20, learners obtain only 2 marks. because you do what? You just think that this is easy. I know. Let's see what a CRAM means. You are given an abbreviation of CRAM. CRAM. To help me with multiple choice test. C stand for cover the answer. R stand for read the question carefully. A stand for answer the question without looking at the choices. M stand for match your answer to the one of the given choices. Meaning, what you're going to do when you answer your multi-choice is that make sure that you have a clean paper, if I can put it that way, because in most cases, these things, they are not needed in an exam. Or if you don't have, you have your answer sheet and then you have your question paper, right? Or you can do with your hand. You read a question by covering on top of the answers. You are not supposed to look at the answers while you read your question, right? This is the other strategy that I like so much. You read your question and understand it. After understanding, and think of the answer. Think of your own answer before you can match the answers. After you think of your answer, now you can unfold your question, your answers, and check the answers if they match to the one that you have given, right? Boom. And then you can be able to get the correct answer. This is a nice strategy. Let's move. How to answer one word response question in definition in most cases. Ensure that you understand all concepts in your lessons. It may be an easy concept that you understand within a sentence. However, it would be difficult to write a definition or clarify the meaning if you don't practice and build your knowledge on the concept throughout your study session. In this format of definition, if you want to enjoy definitions, if you want to enjoy explaining the terms, study them. Make sure that you write them down, maybe several times. If I wish to believe that it will work. The term, let's say they say to you, define the word legislation, right? The term legislation, after studying it for at least 2 times, silently and aloud, or aloud and silently, and make sure that you close your book, you write that particular item or term that you are given. You write it over and over again, and then you mark it for yourself, and then you check if you can be able to write it in exam. Simple definitions. Let's move. Question 1.3 and 1.4 needs deeper thought. Specifically, they told you, or they're telling you, that it needs deeper thoughts. This question tends to require a learner to write well-substantiated sentences. You might be required to, number one, differentiate between two related items. Briefly discuss, oh my god, these kids are making noise. Briefly discuss something. Briefly explain something. They need deeper thought, right? Don't just jump. Make sure that you understand the question, right? Bullet number 3, the last one, because the mark allocation is mostly 2 or more, a one-word response will not suffice. You need to respond in a full sentence and provide a bit more insight, maybe by examples, or you can explain further, right? Let's move. Section C. Questions starts with a source, e.g., an extract, reading, case study, graph, and statistics. In section B and C, the source serves to create the content and not to provide the answers. LO seeks to test your understanding of issues and assesses your level and application of knowledge. Therefore, in this section, you need to ensure that you provide full responses that are well substantiated. Section B and Section C. Let's move. Section C. Each question has 3 questions that are bulleted. To answer this section, you need to have 3 paragraphs that are bulleted. Therefore, you will find the following. Bullet number 1, define or definition, clarification, example of some terms or some words. Bullet number 2, discuss or explain the content referred to in the first bullet. Bullet 3, recommend, solve, advise, critique, evaluate, which is ways and strategies. Thus, plan your response for each question in section C and start each question on a new page. The mark allocation will guide you on the length of the response that you need to provide. Always check your marks allocation so that you can be able to give the rightful length of of the response. Let's move. How long must your response be? How long? The length. The length of your response will be determined by the mark allocation. Look at the following mark allocation. Let's say 2 times 4, right? 2 is equals to the number of the responses. 4 is equals to it's the number of the points within one response. Meaning, when you give a point, right, one response, and then we check the points, like the other slides that I have read there, where we show how you respond on the common verbs, right, and the facts that you need to extend or substantiate. The number of points within one response. Each and every point, it has its mark. It's possible that on that response, you gave only 1 point. We're going to give you 1 out of 40. If you give 2 points, we give you 2 out of 4. If you give 4 points and then they are valid, we give you the marks that you deserve, right? Provide more than 2 responses will not benefit you. Providing more than 2 responses will not benefit you because it's simple. We only give the marks according to the points that are needed. Neither will you score more marks by writing a page full when you are expected to only provide 4 points per responses. Be careful, learners. Be very, very much careful when you write your points. Don't overwrite. When you provide a response, ensure that you don't jump from one fact to another. Provide fact and extend on it. Simple. Extend on it. You provide the fact and then you extend on it. In bold letters, do not lose sight of the question. Stop mumbling. Stop giving us information that is not required, that is so out of the question. Stick to the question. Don't lose sight. Read your response and read the question again. It will help you to determine if your answer is still on the question asked. You need to read your answer and go back to the question and check if you're still on track. I hope this makes sense. Learners, let's move. To reduce teenage pregnancy. This is just an example, right? Recommend 3 practical strategies to reduce teenage pregnancy. 2 times 4. Response number 1. Point number 1, have an educational program on sexuality education, which is a strategy. Point number 2, remember this is one response. This is one response, but how many points? 4 points. You can write it as a paragraph. As a marker, I will be able to see if you have a strategy, if you have purpose, if you have help, if you have a benefit, right? Point number 2, it says it will provide teenagers with information on risky sexual behavior. That is the purpose of the fact, of the practice, right? Point number 3, this will help them to learn more about the dangers of unprotected sex. Help. Point number 4, which is the last one, in this way, they will learn to abstain from sex until they have completed their schooling. This is the benefit learners. You see how useful these things are. This is very much useful. Use them. Make sure that you use them before you write your exam, guys. Make sure that you use them before you write your exam. Read them over and over again, or listen to this video over and over again until you sit for your exam on the 5th of September. Let's move. The continuation of the example. Respond number 2. Point number 1. Have an awareness campaign on teenage pregnancy, which is a strategy. Point number 2, in which teenagers are made aware of the challenges that teenage mothers face. It's a purpose. Point number 3, this will help them to realize that being a teenage mom is a difficult task. Point number 4, in this way, they will learn to delay sexual debut, until they are ready to take such a huge responsibility, which is the benefit. Let's move. What to do at the end? What to do at the end? Keep your eye on the watch to ensure that you save some time to read through your responses. Do not feel intimidated if other learners are done before you. Take your time in ensuring that you understood the questions and that they provided the correct responses. Refrain from writing pages upon pages of responses that were not required. Draw a neat line across responses that you want to cancel. Use a pencil. I think it's better to use a pencil to cancel, right? With a ruler, and then you just cross the response that you need to cancel so that your work can be neat, or your answer sheet can be very much clean and neat. Don't just cancel like you're in grade R, guys. Just line, straight line. Next point, you may start with any question. Just ensure that you number it correctly. Numbering is very, very, very much important. This doesn't mean that when you start with question 2, if it's easy, you are going to write a question 1. Right? Am I making sense? Question 1. If you start with question 2, it's okay. You can start with question 2, but when you number, make sure that you number it correctly. Write question 2, section C, section A, or section B, whatever the section is. Question 2. And if under question 2 it says 2.1.1, number it the same way. 2.2.1. Just because you started with question 2, it doesn't mean you started with question 2 and then the question it's number 1, number 2, number 3 if it's not numbered accordingly. Number the way the question paper is numbered. Make it easy for the marker. Make it easy for the marker to be able to find your answers. Let's move. Tips. Use the following to help you to remember: mind map, spider graphs, spider diagrams, tables, mnemonics, mobile notes, highlighters, and acronyms. Use the following to help you to remember. You use them to remember. This is the quick tip. We're moving to the next slide. In conclusion, I believe this is the last slide. In conclusion, now we are concluding. Oh my God. I hope, guys, you are not going to sleep on this video. Make sure that you take your energizer. Is it healthy though? Make sure that you drink a lot of water. You relax. You don't have anything to do or anything pending, so that you can be able to listen to this video. It's the longest video that I have ever done, but thanks to the Department of Education though. Right, in conclusion, develop your own study notes. Make sure that you have a book. Don't mix the books, guys. When you study, don't mix life orientation with another subject. No, just have a specific book for specific subject. Have your highlighters, have your pencils, have your stationery with you. Develop your own study notes. You can take the notes from the videos, you can take notes from your teacher, you can take notes from wherever, and then you combine them and then you do your own, because there is nothing important like you understanding your own things. All right, own your own notes. You will understand your own notes, so it's going to be easier when you write your exam. You remember quickly because this is your own supplementaries, summaries. This is your own notes, this is your own knowledge, this is your own experiences. You will remember easy when you do your own notes. Number 2, it says study using the various study styles. Different styles. When you study, use the different styles, because if this one is not working for you, move to the next one, use the other one. Right, let's see. Number 3, it says revise, 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 and revise, 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 revise. Very much important. Revise. Don't be lazy to revise. Revise. If it's if even if it's what do you call this, even if it will be a point where you call your siblings or whoever in the house to help you to study, let it be. Let them ask you questions. Raise your hand as if you're in class and answer question. Ask question. Let them read for you. When you define terms, let them have a book while you try to define that fact. If you're wrong, they will tell you that you're wrong. If you're correct, they will tell you that you're correct. There is nothing nicer to study with someone. To study with someone is very, very, very much nice. But if you prefer to study by yourself, that's cool and that's okay. I hope this is the last slide. Let me see where it ends. Good luck. Good performance in life orientation will ensure confidence in other exams. I have to agree with this one. When you get out of your exam room after you feel that I have nailed that question paper, now you will look forward to writing other exams. The strategy that you have used while you study life orientation, if it worked for you, you're still going to continue using the same strategy, right? Good luck, guys. Good luck with your exam. Hope when you go to your examination venue, you'll go with your pride. You'll go with the whole of you. Carry a bottle of water if you have, so that you can avoid going up and down. Drinking water reduces anxiety. When you write, be yourself. Sit on the chair, look at your question paper and your answer sheet. Don't move your head around and try to compare yourself with any other person. If you see this person is writing, and you start panicking that, I wonder what is she writing. No, just do your things or do your own thing. Just be you. Pretend that in that exam, you are the only person who is writing that exam. Right? Guys, good luck with your exam. Don't forget to subscribe. Call your friends to come and watch this video before it's late. Share information. Do good deeds. Right? They will see this video as well. You help them to pass their life orientation kit. Boom, I'm out. Good luck, guys. I love you.